We're gonna do something that no one wanted and no one asked for, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm just gonna provide as much context as I can about how I was able to move from Toronto to New Brunswick to see if you're kind of in the same ballpark that I was trying to get over here. Anyways, here we go. Oops, forgot to mention. I'm going to be driving around the Kingston Peninsula while we talk about this, just for reference. Okay, now here we go. I was born. That's about it. Formative years. Socializing, school, elementary school, high school, all that fun stuff. Had a lot of minimum wage jobs at the time. Worked at Walmart, worked at Scotiabank Theater, worked at No Frills. No Frills was, worked there a long time, almost about 10 years. So from 2000 and, nope, that ain't right, 2009 to about 2007. Nope, doesn't make any sense either. Worked at No Frills for about 9 years, and that brings this up to here. At that point, this was, longest place I ever worked. Like I said, minimum wage though, so money wasn't the greatest. Was still living at home at the time, but this is where it all starts to change and we start swinging uphill. Oh, also, this is where that stint at No Frills is where I met my then colleague, then girlfriend, then fiance, now wife. Now's for the fun stuff. After my very long stint at No Frills, I ended up doing a program that helped get some technical training in terms of like IT and stuff like that in order to find some better employment for myself. And I did end up getting a job in still a call center job, but it did pay a lot better. So when I started here, this was in Toronto, but I started here at $42,000 a year. Now, that amount did go up. I worked there for about 4 years doing 2 jobs, sequentially. So one job got promoted or adjacented to another department, and by the end of it, I believe I was making around $48,000 a year. So in the middle of that 4-year stint of, first job where I wasn't earning minimum wage, we decided, my now girlfriend, then colleague, that we did want to end up buying a place. So that's when the hunt for a condo began. Now, we didn't have the most money combined. Realistically, I was making again between probably at this point 40, 45, 48, 46, something in that range. And she was making about the same, in and around there. But this was the 2019 Toronto condo market. So it was a hunt. The hunt did begin, and we did end up purchasing a place in 2019 for about $360,000. This was a condo in an older building. Neighborhood I thought was okay. I don't think a lot of people, some people might agree, some people not, some people are whatever, kind of is what you make of it. But we got the place and it was ours, which was great. And then COVID. Couldn't really go out and do much, and this was the first inkling or glint in the eye of like, what are we going to do now when you realize you live it was like a 600 square foot condo, something around there, maybe a little more, and wasn't a lot of room. We both did work remote at that time, so we didn't even have that much space when it came to working from home. We made it work though, so that was great. But the overall thing that happened here, like I said, is we started thinking about like, what do we want to do? What do we want to accomplish? Do we want more space? just in general, so we're not over top of each other the entire time and everything. So this was the beginning of the looking about what we were going to do. We make it through the pandemic, and just so happens there was another couple that we knew that was kind of mumbling about moving out and moving away in general out of Ontario at this point. And they showed a house, or they showed us a house they were looking at, and we kind of just took a look, and then I kind of just started taking more of a look in general, like, it was costs and everything, lifestyle. There was, access to family and to get back, especially for my now fiance, then girlfriend, wanting easy access to being able to fly back to Toronto and see family if need be. I personally was willing to, if it was up to me, I would have moved anywhere. I would have moved to Iceland. It is what it is. I think it's always good to get as much experience in your life as you can, but sometimes, you just gotta compromise. My then fiance didn't want to be that far away from family, so that's why New Brunswick did make sense in that case. It's a 2-hour flight. I ended up leaving that previous job, again, that previous job being my first non-minimum wage job, and for some more money in this case. So now I was making about, averaging, things together, about $65,000 a year. So quite the bump, and this did help us in more seriously looking into purchasing property in terms of a house in this case, because we were already in the condo at this point. But this was definitely the official kind of also a very important kicking off point, because we were able to get, there's just more money on hand to work with. In February, actually reaching out to a realtor in New Brunswick, and started looking for houses seriously. And then it happened. We bought a place in St. John, New Brunswick, after doing as much research as possible. I was actually planning on flying out just to have a look physically, but the home buying process kind of moved a little quick, so we ended up buying a place before I was able to get out there. So, bought a house virtually, however you want to look at it. That's definitely a little risky, but it wasn't a case of we were looking for like century homes or anything like that. We were looking for something that was a little more turnkey in this case for that reason, and how quickly that moved. We made the purchase. We bought this house for about $330,000. Like I mentioned before, we bought the condo in Toronto for $363 in 2019. So when we sold in 2023, it ended up selling for about $420. So this means we were able to roll a lot of this, like the down payment and everything, into the purchase of the house here, but the mortgage payments were about equal. The only kind of bigger difference is the amount of property taxes went up fourfold, which makes sense. You're moving from a 300 or 600 square foot condo, and we're moving into 2,000 something 500 square foot home. The property tax rate is a little higher out here overall, but for what you're getting, it was well worth it. That was something we looked into. And then some of the not fun stuff. 2024, my wife ended up getting laid off from her job. So a lot of changes took place there. I look at it as like it was a good thing, because even previously, well, not a good thing, that was weirdly phrased, but it's a matter of, we were looking to buy a house. We were looking in places like St. Thomas in London, and even, you know, Kingston, Ontario, just a little farther out from Toronto for some more affordability. We were thinking about, you know, places, a lot of places in St. Thomas. There's a lot of new builds going on up there, and older houses, but they were still around 5, 6, some pushing 7, depending on how recently they were built. If we had pushed through one of that, we would have been way worse off because of the cost of the house as. Because we were able to get a house for $330,000 here, as much as, you know, you might feel some type of way about that. It did allow us to still push on through and keep going on, you know, paying the mortgage. No, there was no existential dread or panic. It was just, no, this is doable. Let's, you know, you can take your time, find another job. It's not a big deal. And now, you know, we recovered. Wife found another job. Things are going great there. And then we hit about early September, and we got another change to go through. Can't go over that one quite yet, but I will. Yeah, that's that. So that's about the giant swaths of it, and I hope that some of this offers some clarity. Probably not, because I probably rambled incoherently a little bit in there. But again, that's enjoying my time out here. I'm like I said, we got this set up, and we're gonna keep trying to use it, because this is something I kind of want to just get better at overall, regardless if anyone sees it or not. So there it is. See you next time.